transitioning to a product role, how have you thought about it? What works and what doesn't for people who are taking that as the next step in their career?
Sure. So, it's a having done this for the last several years, building products, whether it's product marketing or product management, is really, in my view, the culmination of many. And the reason is that there's no one magic formula for becoming a great product person. And what you need is a few core elements, right? No matter whether you've sequenced them in one way or another.
I'm Justin and I'm from Sensitel. Sensitel is sensor data, so it's like IoT and big data analysis company basically. So I'm gonna present you guys with our recent product, which detect your face and recognizes your gender and age and like the orientation of your face, like whether you're facing the camera or not. So as you see, like if you look at the camera, then it tells whether you're male or female, and you can tell your age, and you can see that way. So our goal with this product, our objective is to do a business with retail stores.
Hi, I'm Anand, class of 1997, IIT Madras. I work at a startup here in the Bay Area called Medallia in product management. Back in the IIT days, a lot of us have benefited from interacting with people in widely different backgrounds. People who started companies were less frequent those days. I benefited greatly from my time at IIT in terms of the breadth of exposure I got, not just to technology, but through personal interactions with some of the professors, learning about giving back, learning about the importance of education in the wider community, not just at IITs. And I spent several years in the US actually volunteering with different nonprofits. 2 years ago, when we decided to start the IIT Madras Foundation in the US, with the hope of giving back to the IIT community, focused on building a $100 million endowment for IIT Madras in the US. That was an exciting opportunity for me to be a part of. As part of that foundation, there's several different programs that we support IIT Madras through. One is endowed chairs for specific opportunities for faculty in the US to come back and spend some time at IIT Madras and teach cutting-edge research-related topics. Second is for scholarships for students that are coming to IIT that need support, that may not be able to afford the full tuition at IITs. That's a very successful program that we launched. A third, which is one of the biggest successes we have seen in India that has put us on the entrepreneurship map in India, is the Center for Innovation that we have at IIT Madras, where we allow startup founders to come in and play at the incubator, play with all sorts of technologies, drones, computers, undersea submersibles. And in fact, in a recent conference, startup competition organized by Economic Times, 4 out of the 5 finalists came from IIT Madras in India. So that is a big accomplishment for us.
Hello, I'm Vansh Gupta, and I'm the youth editor at Siliconeer. Your name?
Seshan Rammohan.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Seshan Rammohan. I'm 1968 batch alumni from IIT Madras. I'm currently retired. I'm 71. I'm a grandfather of 2 grandsons, one from each daughter. They are in Chicago. Came to the Valley in 96. I got involved at TIE and through the Pan IIT Alumni Association. And since my retirement, all I've been doing is raising money for IIT Madras through the IIT Madras Foundation.
So tell me a little something about your days at IIT. Some things.
Well, I was the 5th batch from IIT Madras, and it's one of the legacy institutes. And I graduated in 68 and came to University of Minnesota, did a master's in mechanical engineering. And then I worked as an engineer for a couple of years, went back to University of Minnesota, did an MBA in finance and marketing. And since that time, I moved into the financial area. And with that background, I came to the Valley in 96, got involved with a bunch of startups. Then I think about when I became about 60 years old, I decided to join the local TIE organization as the executive director. And as a result, I got into the ecosystem, or the startup ecosystem, in a very deep way. And then Pan IIT was also created in 2002. Then I got even more deeper into the overall connectivity, both through Pan IIT as well as through TIE. And that really got me very, very deep into the ecosystem for entrepreneurship. and which then I was able to leverage both for Pan IIT as well as for IIT Madras through IIT Mentors program that the Pan IIT does, which I am a founder of, and also through IIT Madras, where we have a very robust incubator that was started 4 years ago. We've incubated about 120 companies on IIT Madras campus. These students have the benefit of seeing those trailblazers who have come. They're from all IITs, not just from IIT Madras. And so as a result, they are much more open to risk-taking and doing different things even as they graduate. Many of them, they're so good that they get their jobs by the end of the third year. We had to wait till we graduated, and then at that time the economy in India was such that most of us came abroad to study. Even today, a lot of students come, but the ones who come to study are one who are particularly focused on academia or research or want to do something very special. Only a very low percentage, less than 10% come. When I came back in 1968, 35% of my batch came abroad to study. This is a big difference in what they do, partly because the economy has changed, a lot more opportunities are there, and there are many more students who are also doing startups right from college, undergraduate college, not just from IIMs after a couple of years of working. It is a complete world of difference.
Any personal experience you want to share from your days at IIT?
Well, the most important thing is we were all about 17 years old, and we had about 5 years staying together. It's a residential campus, and so that is your growth years from 17 through 21, 22. And during those years, you form bonds and relationships, and you essentially learn the concept of group learning, because we're all very smart. We all came through the JEE. So, if you have good, bright, young kids who all want to learn, basically we teach each other, and that's what we did. So that experience is invaluable, and it has stayed with me. For example, when I had my 70th birthday that my wife did, all the people who were around the table with their spouses were my classmates.
Wow.
And we did it as the Arya Cuisine, Global Cuisine in Stevens Creek, and there were 20 alumni and their spouses. And so, and we stayed friends together. And in fact, next year, we are going to be doing our 50th, reunion on campus in Chennai.
Very cool. And lastly, what do you think about this year's conference, IIT conference?
I think it's spectacular. Last year we had about 400 plus people. This year we have roughly double the audience. The talks are just as good as last year's. The turnout is better. And I think, we are just on to something better and, growing. Our goal is to have these things become an annual event. No different than what TICON does. The Santa Clara Convention Center. It's for a different purpose, of course. Our goal is different. And so we anticipate that we will continue to grow this conference till it gets to about 1,500 people as an annual event. Well, it was kind of interesting. From my point of view, I didn't see any difficult in the sense that we all came to Midwestern schools or Western schools or East Coast schools. We all came initially as students. Most of us did masters, some of us did PhDs, some of us did a master's and an MBA like I did. At that time, we integrated with society very well. We were all new, and most of our friends were non-Indians. We just met with the local people and we integrated quite well. It was difficult at some point in time because many of us missed our family, and so that was a challenge, and we didn't have the communications that we have today. There was no internet, there was no Skype, there was no Zoom, there was no other way to connect with people, and you had to book trunk calls in a way, weeks in advance, or send telegrams. That's what we did. So the communication with the family was a little bit of a challenge, but notwithstanding that, we didn't have too much assimilation issues in, with the society at large. Over time, of course, many of us got married to Americans, and others got married to Indians who came over here. Then our children were born and raised over here, and then we have grandchildren. So net result of all that is we are fully integrated in society. And it is our children and grandchildren who are now the beneficiaries of the pioneering work we all did. Well, the food scene that was interesting. Depending on how strict a vegetarian you were, I think you had some challenges. Not if you came to California. At that time, even back then, California was a vegan kind of place and lots of vegetarian kind of dishes. The Midwest was a big challenge. East Coast was a little better. So net, food was a challenge. That is true. So we had difficulties. I personally didn't, because I could eat non-veg and I did eat non-veg, but even then I was a little careful about eating red meat, so to speak, beef, pork, and other things. I tend to eat chicken or fish, but we were able to manage. It was not too difficult in the campus cafeterias.
Hi, I'm Kapil, and I started Upaya 11 years ago. And the reason I started Upaya was I used to work for Oracle, and I used to work for the enterprise customers, and realized, there's a lot of scope which the startups and small companies need help with. They need similar help. They have similar problems to the enterprise, but there are not many people who are dedicated to helping them. The other thing I think we noticed was that the companies like NetSuite, Salesforce were coming up, and there was a software as a subscription service that's available, which will be really helpful because it'll bring a lot of the cost for these small businesses down, and they can have similar systems. So we adopted systems like NetSuite and Salesforce, and starting help the startups and the mid-sized companies adopt these, build similar processes for them that the enterprises were using, and help them grow from a startup to a public company. Some of the companies that we work with are sold or public, like Airbnbs, the Arista Networks, Palantirs, Nest. These are the companies we work with and have a rich experience from startup till the corporate level. Thank you.
Hi, we are TrueShelf. We are developing an adaptive learning platform to teach mathematics to middle school and high school students. So our platform generates several math problems, and as the users are solving these problems, it will figure out what kind of mistakes they're making, what kind of problems they're getting correct, what kind of problems they're getting wrong, and adaptively guide them to learn mathematics in a very systematic way, whether they're preparing for SAT or JEE or just interested in improving their mathematical skills.
Hi, my name is Uday Kiran Chaka. I'm the founder of Sentry. It's a home security startup based out of Silicon Valley in the Bay Area. What we do is we actually make the homes smart and safe by using a personal assistant called Leela. So the big differentiation is that we reduce your false alarms by 90 to 95% because we know exactly who is in the room. For example, what you see here is a skeletal map of any person who is in the frame of reference, and so it recognizes you, recognizes your family, your caregivers, caretakers and all, and recognizes strangers and starts alerting them that they're in a unauthorized area, and basically tells them to go off. So it's a very lot of intelligence built into this home security solution, and on top of it, it also has this personal assistant who engages them. If you're in any need of help, like if you've fallen down or you're in any kind of medical emergency, you can just say help, and the system will ask you what kind of help you need and will fetch you that help. Lastly, everything is processed on premise on a computer hub that's located in the house, and therefore there are no privacy issues. The video is not streamed anywhere on the internet, and will be very responsive as well. So these are the three things. So Sentry tries to keep your home smart and safe. It does it by reducing the false alarms. It has a personal assistant that engages with you, interacts with you, and lastly, everything is highly private and responsive.
My name is PK Mhatre, and a company is called Fingertips Lab, and our product is called O6. This is a device that you can mount on your steering wheel when you're driving or walking, and this converts your apps into radio stations. So the way it works is that there's an app. This uses remote controller to scroll through your existing apps.
NPR One, Pocket, Twitter, email.
And then it's going to speak out the name of the app. You can select a certain channel or an app. You can press a button.
7:55.
And then you can play or pause that content.
Email from Ben Park. Subject, lunch. It says, hey, I am flying in from Chicago.
So what it does is that when you're driving, you don't need to look at a screen or touch the screen, and you can listen to all your text messages, Facebook, WhatsApp, WeChat, emails. So you can have your eyes on the road, hands on the wheel, and interact with apps and content. So if you have a problem of checking your smartphone while driving, get one of this, and it might save your life.
Drive PX2. And the Drive PX2 is a system that you can put into your car, into your system. We have like a lot of business partners like Tesla and other companies, BMW, that use these kind of things to make your car an autonomous driving car. this truck is driving itself down the freeway. And we're going to look at a couple of different systems that actually power it, or a couple of different systems that allow the car to be autonomous driving as it was right there. So the question is this system also connected to the Wi-Fi, to the internet, or is it all within itself like autonomous driving? So
the most of the computation is done locally in the Drive PX2, which is the SLC that we provide, and we do have internet access for this. We have Ethernet connection, so we can have, but we don't have Wi-Fi for it. But there is internet access.
One piece of the system is a localization system. So similar to when you're driving and you're using your maps and stuff, this system will be able to identify and hook into different map systems, so you can get to Starbucks, or you can get to a meeting, or you can get to places like that. And so that's what the connection is for. Not necessarily, there's no access because of the security issues that would come up with someone being able to take over your car. There's no access to that part of the car. So NVIDIA is more than a hardware platform. It's actually it's not just a piece of hardware. It's not just a semiconductor company. We're a visual computing company. We're a platform company. And so we provide platform. With this platform, people can use parts of it or all of it. And they can modify it, and they can customize it for their needs. Some companies will just take our platform that has already had the reinforced learning. Part of your system is going to look at where can you go if something happens, what's around you. So part of it is staying in the lane, but you can't always stay in the lane to avoid a collision, right? And so it has to also be aware of free space. So part of the system is always calculating the free space around you. Part of it is always calculating the speed and trajectory in which the other objects, they could be vehicles, they could be bikes, they could be anything, are coming at you, so that it can maneuver, stop, or do whatever it needs to do so that you won't be in a collision. And so this system demonstrates like the different components of that. One of the components of this is the Copilot. And the Copilot is a natural language programming system that is very it's like having an artificial intelligence that feels real. It gets to know your personal habits. And so you're going and you're saying, you talk to your car and you say, hey, I'd like to know the best Indian food place, the highest rated Indian food place where I am right now. Maybe you're in a place that you don't know. And your car would do the work for you to find the best rated one in the area right there that was open at that time. So that's just some of the components of Copilot. It would also know your calendar, know your habits. So let's say one of your habits is on Wednesday, before you go to your Wednesday meeting, you stop at Starbucks. It would ask you, would you like to go to Starbucks today on the way to your meeting? And you could say yes or no, right? So that's part of the whole system that is going to be built in, or is already being built in, to the Drive PX2.
The salaries of the few early employees, and long story short, he stayed. He passed away a couple of years ago, but stayed basically in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley for the rest of his career. And I watched him grow this sort of fledgling, really more kind of research-oriented idea from 3 or 4 people into a business that was more than $500 million run rate and several thousand employees. And now as a venture capitalist, Sudeep and I, we work with very early stage companies that start with one person or a handful of people who may not even be incorporated. And really, I have a lot of appreciation for the journey he took, both as someone who was not native to the U.S., who came here and I think had to break through a lot of the kind of glass ceilings that existed, and just be the person that he wanted to be, and embrace the fact that he was different, and made that a strength as opposed to something that he was going to let hold him back. Work for me and help me find interesting companies to invest in. And I thought, great, this will be my opportunity to learn about business before I go do a startup. And long story short, I ended up working for this gentleman for several years, and then starting my own venture capital firm with some other people who I knew, who were classmates from Stanford originally, and have been in the business now over 20 years. It's like entrepreneurship in the sense that it's better to what do they say in the beginning? The first time you do a company, there's a lot, you don't know what you don't know. And it's good that we didn't know what we didn't know, because it's been a long journey. It's been a really, kind of amazing one, but a lot of highs and lows. We essentially were entrepreneurs in the VC industry. And our key thing, all four of us, we knew each other from Stanford originally. We'd all been in the tech industry as engineers, and then, really gotten into venture capital each in our own way. And we'd all been in the industry, between 3, 4, 5 years. And we realized that what we liked doing was really finding people who had technical backgrounds, who wanted to be, technical founders. And we thought we really understood, ways in which we could help those kinds of people build great companies. And there's a saying we've had since the beginning of founding Lightspeed, which is, our roots are really much more in the enterprise. If you want to, have a company that is really successful, it's as much as about, business design and business model design as it is about, kind of product design and architecture design. And so we really have a mission and I think a strategy as a firm which says if we can find people who, where we're really blown away by their technical aptitude and their technical vision and, some new architecture that they want to build that we think could be disruptive, we can't do that, but what we can do is we can really help those people figure out how to build and wrap around that, the most robust and, hopefully, the kind of arm them with the best possible way to build their business so that they can become, the world's best market leader with the technology that they're going to work so hard to build.